A very good morning, everyone. So, my name is Vishnu. I'm one of the product experts on Site 24/7. I welcome you all to the Site 24/7 training session of day one. And so, I'll just brief you about the training program. This is a 5-day training program. So, where we'll cover all the modules in Site 24/7. And so, here the modules are segregated into 5 different sessions where in the day one, we'll cover the website monitoring, which is an internet service monitoring, and RUM, which is a digital experience monitoring completely. We'll be covering in the session of day one, and the day two will be followed by the server infrastructure monitoring, and next we will be moving to network and virtualization monitoring, and fourth will be application monitoring, and then going into the reports, dashboards, and alerting. So this is how we planned, and we'll cover all the modules which are supported inside 24/7. So in today's session, so this is a 2 hour session where we'll have a short break in between for 10 minutes. So we'll try to complete all the topics in this day one session. And so here we'll be discussing about the internet services and the use cases where we can apply this monitoring and how it helps us to fix all those metrics and in alerting and proactive monitoring and observability. So all those details we'll be able to see throughout the session. Yeah. And so in this session, so we'll first initially discuss about the terminologies which is used in Site 24/7. So what are the basic terminologies, and so how will we represent a monitor and everything. And later we'll talk about the alert management and each resources, like each monitors types, what all monitors, how it is applied. And also we'll be explaining about our sub product, which is DRA and modules and security modules going forward in the session. Okay, so this is the scope of the session today. So these are like common terminologies which we use, which we see. And so user and alert management will be seeing about the user and alert and configuration and about the website monitoring modules, internet services modules, and REST API monitoring and everything. And so this is the sub product which which we'll be looking into in this session, which is domain risk, digital risk analyzer. Yeah. And so before I start with the session, so if you have any problems in between the training sessions, if anything, like if you face any audio challenges, or like if you are not able to see the screen or anything, you can always reach out and chat. My co-trainers available. And also if you have any questions based on the topics which I'm going to guide and explain throughout the session, which in the training which we are going to see, if you have any questions on it, you can ask in the chat box. Like my co-trainer will be able to answer those questions. Yeah. So, okay. So starting with the common terminologies. So the term monitor. So initially, so inside 24/7, all the resources which we monitor, like for example, a website or a network device or a server which you are monitoring, that is a VMware or like an EC2 instance. So anything of an application. So these each resource is called as a monitor. So it is mentioned as a monitor. So which is called monitor. That is the first key terminology that we'll be going to see throughout the session. We'll be seeing, we'll be like speaking about the many terms on like monitor. So this is the first basic common term. And so, and also here the license here is segregated based on basic, advanced, and host. So we'll see how the basic monitors and advanced monitors are segregated like based on license. So all the light check monitors, let us see, like the performance metric, limited performance metrics, and light check monitors are considered as basic monitors in Site 24/7. So few of the basic monitors are listed here, like in website, we have this website monitoring, WebSocket monitoring, and ping, FTP, and NTP server monitoring. These all we'll see in detail. So here these are the monitoring, gRPC monitoring. These all use a basic monitoring license, including server, in server monitors, which we have Windows server backup monitor and Windows update monitor, Kubernetes pods. So these all use like basic monitoring license, and like plugins, virtualization monitoring, and cloud monitoring. so instances. So these all use like uh, basic monitoring license. And when we go into advanced monitor, so here advanced monitor, the terminology again in Site 24/7, the advanced monitoring is for the performance, like feature rich performance monitors, which we can see like we'll get much advanced insights into it. So those monitors are categorized as advanced monitors in Site 24/7. And so this is categorized within with page speed, a browser, web transaction, SaaS. These all cover, we'll cover in internet services monitoring. So these an FTP transfer, and APM insight, so and Microsoft SharePoint. These all monitors. These are like for partial listing. We have like many more in this. So these all monitors will consume a advanced license monitoring. And we have something called the third category as host license monitoring. So host is so whenever we monitor a host like Docker host, Kubernetes nodes, or agentless server, or VMware VM instance. So example, like we can see GCP compute. So these all consume host monitoring license. So these are categorized under host. Okay. So the first key other terminology and a feature which we're going to see is monitor groups. So monitor groups are an organization. So monitor group is considered for organizing your resources. Let us say here what we discussed is the resources are monitors. So to organize these monitors, we can make use of this monitor groups. The monitor group combines the set of monitors into a single group, which will help us in many use cases. So for example, reporting and alerting. Apart from it, like let us say if you have server as DBs, and the website dependent on that particular server, and applications or network components, that is router or switch as part of it, you can put these all resources by creating a single monitor group inside this monitor group, so that it will have a clear picture that these all resources are interconnected, and if any resource fails, or any specific resource in this set of resources which we organized fails, it affects all other resources. So this is one of the main use case of creating a monitor group. Let us see like what is a monitor group and how we can create it in Site 24/7. So this is a UI of Site 24/7, which is the main page. When we access Site 24/7, what we see, and we have something called monitor groups in the home. So here we'll see an option called add monitor group. So this is where we create a monitor group. So this uh, I'll showcase what all the configuration which we can add in a monitor group. Let us see. So we're creating a group, and so here we'll provide a name for this monitor group, and the group type, if we are specifically restricting the group to any specific type of modules. Let us say it is GCP or like a VMware or network device monitors. If you want to categorize this group based on any specific category of the devices, we can choose in the group type. Otherwise we can keep it as all. And let us say if we will have multiple monitors listed here, so we can choose all monitors, and we can choose whichever monitors we want here to add. Let us say like we are taking one of few set of monitors and configuring it to a single group. So those configuration can be added in the select monitor. This is where you are selecting the monitors. We are creating a group and we are selecting the resources that should be part of this group. And if you want to create or add any subgroups part of it, let us say you have a server, and the data, there are like 2 or 3 databases which will be running in this server, and also there will be other services which are running in the server. So we have to segregate. The monitor group is there, which is the high level configuration, and if you want to segregate the child monitors, that is services which is running in the server and databases which is in the server, and segregated, we can create subgroups here. So we can provide subgroup names and create a subgroup which is required in this monitor. And so this is the health check threshold, so which I'll explain much further while going this. And so we have this dependent monitor configuration. So dependent monitor configuration is something which helps us to avoid noise in alerts. For example, so let us say we we have a set of monitors which we have in this group. Like let us say the website monitors are added in this group, and so let us say we want to have a dependent monitor for this group, for a group outage and everything. So we are adding these 5 websites or 6 websites are hosted in a certain server. So we are adding that server monitor here as an dependent monitor. Take an example. So when this website monitor gets an outage, that is one of the website monitor goes down, so based on the monitor group threshold, let us see, we are keeping like the monitor group should be notified, like for down status or any other critical status, if any one monitor threshold gets changed. So if we are including the settings, so immediately this monitor groups alert or status will be like alarm will be, it will be creating an alarm, the status will be changing into double or critical. So for that, when the status is going to be changed, initially when we have a dependent monitor, it immediately checks if this server monitor which we configured as dependent is down. If it is down, the alert will be suppressed for this website monitor, because obviously if the server is down, the website which is the website which are hosted in the server is going to be down. So to instead of alerting for this group or like the child monitors, it will alert for the major server monitor. So that's way we can avoid the noise of alerting, and we can understand what is the major cause of the outage, and we can resolve it. So that will fix that, it will fix the issue for the website as well. So that's how this dependency configuration or dependent on monitor configuration helps. And we have configuration profiles where we can include any tags for this monitor and everything. And so user alert group, which is these are user alert groups are nothing but the group of users which are added to site 24/7 to receive alerts. Let us say we are configuring user emails, like we have 5 to 6 users added, and they are added into a user group. And for that, if for any outage in this monitor group, for them to receive alerts, we'll have that user alert group configuration. And we'll have also have notif on call schedule and notification profile. We'll see this in details when we go to the website monitor, and we have a certain third-party integration as well. This is the overall configuration for a monitor group. Let us see like one of the created monitor groups. So we have, okay, so this is how a monitor group is viewed. So we are able to see that there is an down monitor which is affecting the status of this monitor group as well, where it is showing us down. And it has like different set of monitors. We can see that a plugin monitor which is part of server, and website monitor, a network device monitor, and a database monitor, which all included in this monitor group. So it will list the monitor group, and based on your set of resources, so we can see the availability and availability, like average, minimum, and maximum here. Based on these resources, the monitor group availability is defined. So that is like your set of resources, total availability is 80% because a few set of resources are failing. And in terms of server, we'll get the CPU, memory, and disk usage as well as an highlight, so that you can understand how it is performing based on the group. And top processors or like consuming, like contributing to the CPU or memory will be listed here. And here comes the health check part. So we seen the availability percentage, and so here in the health check part we'll be able to see the total number of monitors and how many are down, and what are the status events which is created for this particular monitor group, and what is the availability status graph, all will be listed in this health check. So these are the infrastructure events, that is we can see the events that is generated for this particular monitor group. Let us say like there are like certain number of events that are created, like an outage, like a monitor went down and monitor went to a critical status. For those, what all events which is captured, all can be queried here, and we can view it here. And the outage section covers what all the outage, like we have chosen the time frame as last 24 hours. So based on this time frame, what all the outages which has occurred. For example, we can see a server shutdown has been initiated for one of the monitor, which is server monitor we are monitoring, and for one of the plugin, the agent communication is not happening. So these are few reasons which we can see. And one other advantage of creating a monitor group is this. So we will create a monitor group, and based on the monitor group, we'll be able to see a business view, how how these resources are actually interconnected, because we are adding it into a organizing into a monitor group. So we can see this monitor group consists of 5 resources, and from there, these resources, there is a database which is connected, And so if we have another application is connected, it will create an application view. This will create an entire business view, which will we can understand how our resources are maintained in the infrastructure, how it is connected in the infrastructure. This will help us to understand that. And alert logs are, again, so we have seen infrastructure event, which are the events, and here the alert logs are like which are the alerts triggered actually. So events are like events occurred, like for example any CPU exceed happened, and that is captured as an event, and memory exceed is memory has exceeded a certain threshold, so which we have configured. So those details are counted as events, where alerts are the actual alerts which has been triggered to the users, which are designated to receive these alerts from this monitor. So when we have configured certain user and designated to receive these alerts, so when if that, and if we will be able to check, if we want to check if that alert email or like notification, which is a voice note, has been triggered to the specific user, or a third party ticketing tool we have integrated, and if the alert is triggered to them properly, we can query those in here in this with the setup, and we'll be able to see those details. And we have something called capacity planning, which we can enable to see how the resources has been utilized across the monitors which you have added in this particular group. And we have something called like add custom tab. Let us say if you want in this monitor group, not only you want to see these details, you want to add any additional widgets or metrics, that is you're choosing from the custom dashboards. If you want to add this, you'll be able to create a add custom tab. Just we have to provide a name for this custom tab. And so let us see, we can add. So if we add it, so we'll create a sub tab. So this according to the, I mean, including the sub tabs, and a new tab will be listed where we'll be able to see those additional widgets and everything. So these are widgets created in dashboards. So how to create a dashboard and everything will come up in our future training sessions, which is on day 5. So just adding that dashboard, we'll be able to add that dashboard inside the monitor group as well. So it is to be noted here. So these are the this is what a monitor group is, and how it helps us to group the monitors and see the details of a monitor. And and also we mentioned about alerting. So here we have set the count, so monitor count threshold to decide the monitor group status. So how many number of monitors needs to like status has to be changed. Like let us say only if we have 5 monitors here, and the status change is configured for 3. So here only when 3 monitors status goes down, the monitor group status will be also updated as down. So that is what this configuration mean. And going further into thresholds, so this is health check threshold, which is available for the monitor group, where we can alert for certain resources, make configuration, like if you want to mute alert for subgroups, and notify us trouble when a monitor resource, like any monitored resource goes down or trouble. So these configuration will be available here. And so number of down monitors, if a number of trouble monitors exceeds a certain count, if you want to be alerted as trouble or critical through the monitor group. If in this group, if you feel that, like if 2 monitor crosses the trouble status, that is based on the threshold value, if 2 monitors get a threshold breach, this is considered as a major outage, and I wanted to be notified as critical. So those alert settings can be configured here. So this is pretty much the picture of monitor groups and how it helps. So let us see, we have seen the managing alerts via health check, and so nested subgroups, and so what is subgroups and how we can manage it. So these details we have seen in the. And next comes the on-premise poller. So on-premise poller is a lightweight agent, so that can be installed in the server within your network. So how the on-premise poller helps, let us say the use case of this on-premise poller, the term on-premise itself mentions that it is within our environment. So we let us say we have an website, or we have some VMware like VMs. So if you want to monitor that VMs which is within your network, where you cannot let us say it is within your network, and you can only reach out with an internal agent and provide a proxy to like send the data outside. You cannot install agent to all the servers, or like let us take a website which is internet website which cannot be accessed from any external IPs, only from the intranet location, which is that is within your location you can access it. So there comes the use case of Polar. You will be installing a lightweight agent in one of the server. From there, this on-premise Polar will communicate to that particular website and will collect the data, and the Polar will communicate again, send the data to Site 24/7. So that's how the data will be passed. So you don't have to uh, depend upon the Site 24/7 location agents to get those data. So that's how on-premise Polar helps. So this will be used in our further monitoring discussions. And user, and let us move to user and alert management. So here we'll see like how we can add a user in Site 24/7. So in the Site 24/7, we just have to navigate to admin and user alert management, and there we'll see an option called user and alerts where we'll be able to add an user. So for example, so we are providing a username for this user. That is, we can provide a username and email address, and we can provide a mobile number based on the region. And the next thing which we'll be selecting when we are adding a user is that we'll be providing the role. So we have certain roles like admin, super admin, operator, read only, billing contact. This is based on limiting the role for an user to access and use of Site 24/7. Let us say in an organization we have like 5 people who have given super admin access. They can perform all actions that is can be done in Site 24/7 without any restrictions, which is a super admin role. And later comes an admin role, so where admin can be either part of, where can take all actions as part of the resources, which is the monitors. And also we can restrict the admin access for monitor groups, group level access. And we can allow them to select perform the operations which is part of only the monitors. And again, operator role allows you to only create reports, generate report, and add maintenance. Rest of the actions are restricted for the operator. So read only will have only the read only access into Site 24/7. Based on these categories, these are the role-based access that we provide in Site 24/7. And billing contact alone, or just a spokesperson, or just an alert contact. So where only that email address needs to receive alerts, no access to Site 24/7. That is no access to web client. So these different user roles are available in Site 24/7, and we can either provide for these users, either we can provide access to all monitors or restricted access to a certain monitor group. That is where our monitor group use case comes again. So where we can provide a certain group. Let us say we have some few EC2 instance. I want to provide this user access to only to this EC2 instance. I can just select that monitor group alone, so that the user will only receive that like and have access to this set of EC2 instances. No other actions, or like no other in his view, there is no other additional details can be viewed by this user. And we have like our sub products like StatusIQ, Cloud Spend, and Digital Risk Analyzer, which is DRA. So we can provide access if we are providing the similar accesses there, like what is the role access we have to provide, and those access can be provided in those sub products as well. And associate to user alert group. So every user has to be part of an user alert group to receive alerts. So that's where that user alert group use case will be coming. And we have to select an if we have to add this user to a certain user alert group, we can select that user alert group here. And so these are like notification medium, whether this user needs to receive email alerts, SMS, voice call, or like email for down, or SMS for down, critical. Like we can customize this what all alerts the user has to receive, and we can configure it here. And we can set the alerting privilege. Let us say like the user has to only receive alerts during this time frame. We can restrict the alert only for this time frame. And if you want to set any don't alert time frame, like let us say don't alert this user on Sunday and Saturday, which is a week of forum. So those configurations can be done in the user level settings. So this is how we add a user. And next we'll see what is user alert group, which we are discussing a lot till now. So the user alert group, as I said, is a set of user which is put into a group for to receive alerts or reports. So let us say we are creating a user alert group, and so we are adding a few of the users here. So we will add few of the users. So this is how we'll create a group, and you can add like the required number of users to receive alerts or reports based on the use case and requirement. Once it is created, we can just click on save, and so this user alert group will be created. And also there is an additional option called attribute alert group. So this comes in handy. So when we see we have, let us say, like so we have provided access to this user to server monitors, and still I don't want a certain attribute alerts to be triggered to this user. Let us say we have a server monitor, and I don't want the certain partition or like certain uh, a certain childs which has been discovered a part of monitor, like partition or process. I don't want alerts to be triggered for this user. I want alerts to be triggered for only these certain attributes, or these certain child resources. So all those things can be selected here. Like let us select all disk partitions, and let us see for process I'm selecting all, but I don't want to receive alert when a process is down, or like a total process count threshold exceeds. If I want to exclude alerts for this certain attributes, so this is how I can create a new attribute alert group, and we can make sure I'm receiving only alerts, or like the user is receiving only alerts for the required attributes, or the required child resource partition. So we can customize the alerts, or the status changes which has to be notified to the certain user alert group based on attributes or the child resource as well. So those things can be selected here, and once we save, this attribute alert group will be created as well. And and this is how we create attribute alert group and user alert group. And we'll see the on-call schedule as well here. So this will be also comes in handy in terms of notifications. So on-call schedule is something which is parallel to user alert group, which is an we can say it as an alternative. In user alert group, we are setting the details which all alerts which has to be triggered to this user alert group, and like we can restrict the child attributes, or like attribute level metrics based on the attribute user alert group. All those details can be done in user alert group. Next come the third part is on-call schedule, where we, let us say, this comes in very handy in like organization where employees work in shifts. So let us take this user alert group which is created, and let us see. So this is app team 1, app team 2, and app team 3 are three different user alert groups present here. So let us say we have set of peoples working from 6 to 8 the morning, which is covering ANZ and Europe from 2 to 8, and from 10 to 8 the next the US time zone is covered. So like these are like, it starts from 6 and the shift duration is 8 hours, and for 2 it is 8 hours. So like that, if we have different peoples associated to this different user alert groups, where we can configure three different shifts, or we can, if there is like 4, we can add additional shifts for them for the users. So we can use this on schedule and associate it to the monitor, so that, so based on this timings which we configured for this user alert group, the alerts will be triggered to these specific users in the user alert group at the specified time. So the alert won't be triggered to everyone, so it will be is smartly handled and will be sent to users which we are configuring. So that this on-call schedule will come in handy. And also the shift rotation policy, if we can set the shift rotation policy as no rotation, or like a monthly rotation is required, or a weekly rotation. So when we enable this, will automatically, this will be rotated, like the 2 will come in the first place, and the 3 app team 3 will come in the Europe region, and again app 1 will come in the USA region. So this is how the rotation happens. So we don't have to manually change this rotation as well, or else we can manually change it, but if the rotation is similar to what we expect, this will be handled in the right way. So this is what on-call schedule is, and we can also associate it to the monitor to have the alerts to get at the specified time. So yeah, we have seen user profile, role-based access, which is like a read only or spokesperson, super admin, which is the role-based access, and we also have custom roles. So custom roles is a new feature which has been rolled out, and where we can use tailored permissions. Like if we want, we can manage the super admins or admins in the Site24 account can manage. So what access that user needs to have, like we can, I mean, for a user, it is possible to restrict to only reports and no other access. So we can tailor made the solution using the custom rules here, which is available in Site24/7. And we have seen user alert groups, attribute alert groups, and on-call schedule. And we have configuration profiles. So in configuration profiles, we'll have location profile, notification profile, threshold and availability, and the credential profile. 1 minute. Let us continue here. So we have this configuration profiles. So this will cover thresholds and credential profiles. We'll see this when we are like adding a website monitor. So it will have all these configuration. So a website monitor, like to explain. So it helps us to monitor the availability and like response time of a website. So it gives insights into the response time, how the website is performing in real time, and what is the availability of the website. So all those things can be monitored using the website monitor, and this is the website monitor architecture. So I hope it is not so. Okay. So we have this private network. If it is a private network, that is what we discussed about an intranet URL, we'll be using an Site24/7 on-premise Polar. Or if it is an internet exposed website, we'll be using Site24/7 location profile, global location profile. We have around like 130 plus global location profiles where we can monitor. And from there, it will pull the data. We will send a request, HTTP request to the website, and it will get the data again through the internet. It will come to a data center. So we have a primary data center where we usually collect the data in terms of any change or any outage, or if any situations. We have a disaster recovery as well, where we'll move the data collection immediately to the disaster recovery to continue the monitor without any disruption in the data collection and what we do in monitor. So this is what is the architecture is. And so the use case of website monitoring, like I discussed, so we have this uptime and response time in real time, and it will also check the DNS resolution of the domains which we are monitoring for the website which we are monitoring. And it also shows us the ping monitoring, where it will have the network latency and detects connectivity issues. So we'll see by adding a website monitor. So in Site24/7, there is a section called web, where we have to navigate, and here we'll be adding this website monitor using the add website option here. So let us see one of the added website already. So this is how a website monitor addition page looks like. So we have to provide a display name for the website, and we have to just provide that URL which we are going to monitor, which is we have created one here, and we can set the check frequency and the low up to 10 seconds, which we can use it for the primary location. So each 10 minutes we'll be polling the website, and we'll be checking the status using HTTP communications. So, and next comes the monitoring location. This is what we discussed in the configuration profiles as location profiles. So let us say like we have the website, and the users are like mostly from a certain region. Let us say it is from Singapore alone, or if it is covering Australia zone alone, we have most of the users there, and we have to monitor the websites reachability and the performance, which is response time and availability from this particular region, we can create certain threshold location profiles. Like we'll be able to create one location profile, let us say Singapore, and we can create a primary location as Singapore, and we can also select multiple other locations to as a secondary location. So in this location profile, we will be able to select one location as primary location and 7 other locations as secondary locations, which is total number of 8 locations can be selected to monitor website. And even additional location can be added, that is based on the use cases and everything. And we'll have something called restrict monitoring in the selected location. So this feature help us to restrict a monitor. Let us say we have configured here Singapore alone, and if you are keeping this option as no, whenever in worst case, whenever we have some outages, let us say in Singapore, our location servers are facing an outage. So to continue the monitoring without any interruption, we'll be moving automatically. We'll be changing the location to a nearby location, alternative location, and monitor the website. We'll continue to monitor the website from the alternate location. So if that is has to be avoided, like during the time the monitoring has to be skipped, we can enable this option as yes, so that we the monitoring will be restricted only to the Singapore location, and if there is any outages or anything, we'll skip the monitoring for that part. And here, like I said, we'll be able to select one primary location and 7 secondary location. So for the secondary locations, we will be able to set a threshold inside the monitor. What we saw is for primary, and here we can set a threshold polling frequency of minimum of 1 minute. So once we create a profile, we have to just save this here, and we have already have a Asia Pacific created where we will be able to see the Seattle as the primary location and list Melbourne, Kolkata, Kuala Lumpur, Mumbai, and London as selected as secondary locations. So here the polling will happen for this website from primary location every 5 minutes and from the secondary location every 30 minutes. So this is the first level of configuration, and we can also add content checks to this website. Let us say we have a string present. So we have a string present in the website. Let us say, for example, so whenever we reach the website, there is a keyword that is present that has to be available always in the website. It has to be checked. We can use this should contain string or should not contain string for the string, checking the string values and content check. If anything is modified, that we'll receive, we can configure to receive trouble or down alerts for this. And if it is a case sensitive string, then we can use case sensitive configuration as well. And if we have to match any regex pattern there, we can also configure the reject patterns here. And if we want to make sure that whenever we poll from this location, we have to have a certain header in place when the request has been sent. So only then the website connectivity establishes. So we can configure that header values here as well. And HTTP response header severity, like if that fails, what is the status which we have to be alerted, like either trouble or down from the net, those can be chosen here. And in HTTP configurations, we'll be able to see the HTTP methods which we support, like post, get, or head. Based on this, what is the information that has to be passed when we monitor the website. So if we are using get, what all the headers has to be passed through the get header HTTP method configuration. And user agent, so we can defaultly it will be Site24x7, as will be like monitoring from Site24x7 locations. If you want to possibly configure any specified user agent name, we can configure that and get those details as well. Let us say the website which we are monitoring have a authentication, so we support this basic Kerberos, negotiate, and OAuth and web token configurations. So we can have all those configurations, and we can choose the provider name here, which is the OAuth which we'll be creating. And if there is any client's certificate has to be checked, we can upload the certificate and validate using this choose file option. And if there is a password for the certificate, that also can be configured here. And this part, query authoritative name server, comes in handy when we are like also monitoring the DNS of the specific website. So let us say if we don't want to monitor the query authoritative name server in each polling, that we don't want to check that query authoritative name server for each polling, we can keep it as no. Otherwise, if we keep it as for each time when we are like resolving the domain, we'll match the domain name and we'll check the query authoritative name server to validate the domain resolving. And forced domain, so this option is to like use IP or domain instead of DNS resolved IPs. Like we can use post resolved domains or IPs instead of the DNS resolved ones. For that, we can provide this configuration. And as accepted HTTP codes comes in handy. Let us say for your website, if a certain error codes are accepted and it is treated as up in your website. Let us say commonly 400 or 500 errors are identified as down, except 200. What all errors will be coming into the website, website monitoring, which like for the request which we make to the website, everything will be understood as failure. But if let us say like a 300 is not treated as a failure on your site, you can add those 300 error code here, so that whenever a 300 request is passed when we are sending a request to this particular website which we are monitoring, it will not be considered as a down. So those configuration can be made here. And if we want to follow HTTP redirection, we can follow up to 10 redirections. We can enable it or disable it for redirections. And if you want to trust the SSL certificate, it comes in handy when you have a self-signed certificate. So if you want to trust that SSL certificate and monitor the website, so you can use this. And SSL protocol with like TLS, what is the protocol used? If the protocol check has to be made, TLS 1.1 or 1.3 example, and HTTP protocol which has to be used 1.1 or 2 when we are monitoring, an ALPM. So if you want to enable ALPM or during the monitoring or no, those changes can be configured here in the HTTP configuration. And in the advanced configuration, we'll have the ISP level monitoring. If you want to monitor the ISP level details as well, when we are monitoring the website, this performance through ISP as well, we have to enable this. And this connection timeout is, so once the location servers, Site24x7 location servers send a request to the website, initially it will create it dissolve the DNS name, and then it will establish a connection, then it will do a SSL handshake. So this is the sequence of steps which will happen. So when this connection is happening, so if the connection is not established within 15 seconds, you will be notified an outage. So that is where we can configure. If you want to increase it, we can increase it up to 30 seconds for establishing the connections. And preferred protocol, if you want to use IP4 or IPv6, or if you want to use both, those can be made here. And the primary protocol which have to make is IP4, which has to be considered as a primary protocol that can be configured here. And a secondary resource status, so critical or trouble which you have to store. And store data fields, let us say when we are sending a request to the website to monitor. So if you want to store this data fields like response content or HTTP headers, you can select this, check this boxes, so that these data will be also stored along with the monitoring, and later it can be searched through the app log section in the Site24x7. And we seen monitor group. If we are we're adding this particular resource to any specific monitor group, we can configure that here. And dependent on monitor, as we discussed. So let us say, let us again discuss a use case here. Let us see this website. We have added configurations and alerts for it. So when this website goes down, so let us say like it is hosted in one of the server, a web server, like, and we are monitoring that web server in Site24x7 as well, and we have configured that web server as a dependent monitor here. So let us, when this website monitor is identified like as down, let us from any location profile. So when this is identified as down, it immediately checks the dependent monitor. So if that dependent monitor is host, which is the server which is hosting this website, so if that website is that web server itself is down, the alert will be suppressed for this website, and the alert will be sent for the server alone. Let us say in case alternative case, if that server is up, then only the alert will be sent to this website monitor. So that's how we can like avoid noise using dependent monitor and filter out the required alerts using this. That's what is the use case of dependent monitor. And so this comes in handy where if you have to use proxy when you're using an on-premise poller. So like we are right now, we seen monitor using the Site24x7 location. Similarly, if you can choose, if it is an intranet URL, you can choose only the create a new profile and choose a polar location, which is the on-premise polar, which will acts as a location profile. And from that polar, you can monitor the website's availability and response time through that. So those can be monitored. And let us see about the threshold and availability. So this is the threshold profile. So each and every monitor type in Site24x7 will have a threshold profile available. So for this is a website monitor. So we are seeing the thresholds which is related to this particular monitor type. So we have options to alert when a website content is modified. So if you wanted alert trouble, critical, or down, so notify in case of a read timeout occurs, like if the to read the entire data, if it is taking more than a certain time, like if the read timeout occurs, it is basically defaultly 30 seconds from Site24x7. If it crosses that value, if you want to be alerted. And so if a website content changes by percentage, let us say the content changes 30%, so you want to notify it as trouble or critical on the monitor. So likewise, we'll have multiple thresholds, like for DNS time, SSL handshake from primary location. So we can set the values here, like let us say 50 for SSL handshake time, like if it is crossing 50 millisecond, we have to be alerted. And this pole value is the pole count, which is the pole strategy which we are like configured for the monitor. Let us say we can use different pole strategies here. This will apply to many monitor types. So within time duration or pole count or pole average. So let us say if we are using pole count for this website monitor, we have configured 5 minutes as the polling from the primary location. So let us say if you are keeping the pole count as 2, so for 5 minutes is a check frequency, and we have set the poll value as 2, that is 2 polling intervals, which is 5 minutes and 5 minutes, which total 10 minutes. So the 50 millisecond the threshold of 50 millisecond is breached continuously for 2 polling intervals, that is 10 minutes in this particular monitor, which is based on the check frequency. So then a trouble alert will be triggered. So similarly for critical, we can set a higher value if it crossing 70 ms. For similarly for 10 minutes, so which is 2 polling interval, 5 minutes and 5 minutes, so it will be alert critical. So these type of configuration and alerts can be configured based on attributes in the threshold profiles. We can just create a threshold profile here and associate to different set of monitors. And we have tags as well, which will tags and IT automation templates. Let us say if you have a specific script to be executed in the server, so we have something IT automation supported in our agents. So you can use that IT automation templates and to run. Let us say if that particular website goes down, you want to restart the service in the server, and so those automation can be those automation scripts can be configured, and those templates can be executed when it is down or critical. Also in the attribute changes, we have those details which where we can choose. Let us say for the response time is increasing for this, and we have to restart that service using an IT automation whenever this threshold gets breached. So this IT automation starts to run, and it will complete that and will provide the status update, so to restart the service or whichever it is. So those details can be configured in the IT automation templates and IT automation threshold profiles. And we have seen user alert groups, which is the set of users which will configure to receive the alerts. So this for this website monitor, so we are choosing a certain set of peoples like DB team to receive alerts. Like only this DB team has to receive alerts for this particular monitor. We can choose those in the user alert group. And on-call schedule we discussed, which we can either choose user alert group or on-call schedule. If we want to set a shift-based alerting for the users, we can use this on-call schedule. And the next configuration profile which we are going to discuss is notification profile. So mainly when it comes to alerts, let us keep in mind that there are like 3 set of configuration. One is threshold, one is user alert group. So threshold is the attribute and thresholds which we are like maintaining for the alarms from the monitor, and user alert group is to the people who has to receive the email or any notification, SMS or voice notifications. And the notification profile is the third part where we'll manage this notification effectively. So let us say we have this notification profile. So we have a name, and if you want to send the RCA every time when a monitor goes down, we have the option to enable it. And so we can create email templates as well, like your subject line has to look like this based on the global parameters, like the reason is, or the down reason is. We can configure all those in the email template, like monitor name is, or if we are doing this, what if we can create custom email templates, how the alert subject line should look, and you can configure that in the notification profile. And so notification template, you can choose create and add this notification template. What has to be the template of the notification? And notify us down or trouble after executing IT automations. Like I said, we have IT automation feature. So if you want to be alerted, like after executing IT automation, let us say we are configuring an IT automation to restart a service when a website goes down. So if you want to be notified even after the IT automation, if that particular website is staying as down, and if you want to be notified, we have to keep this option as yes, so that we will be notified on this. And IT automation, if we need to suppress on dependent monitors, that is the dependent monitor which we configure for alert, reducing noise. If you want to suppress it, we can enable this option as well. And here comes the next part where we can configure the alerts which is required for this monitor. So in this monitor, if we are choosing any, it will cover all the status, or else if you want to receive only critical or trouble alerts, we can choose any of these alerts and configure it. Let us say we need to have only critical and trouble received, and if you want to choose any specific business hours to receive the alerts, we can choose it. And what is the medium of alerts? Like I want only the email alerts to be triggered for the specific monitor, and only I need critical and trouble. This is based on the severities. If you want to only receive these alerts, we can adjust this configuration based on the requirement and use cases. And if you want to set any notification delay, let us say certain monitors or resources might not be the priority for us to immediately look into it. So whenever a downtime happens, let us say for few resources, let us say I don't want to be notified immediately when that monitor goes down. So I want to be notified like after like 3 continuous failures, or if it is failing continuously for 5 times. So those settings delays can be configured here. So only if that status change or happens in your monitor, it will wait for this 5 continuous failures before sending a notification. So this will also help us to effectively manage alerts. And we'll be configuring persistent alerts. So let us say it is a very high severity monitor. If it goes down, I need to be notified unless that a particular alert has been resolved. So we have a setting called persistent alerts, which will continuously send alerts unless it is acknowledged. So we can trigger up to 13 continuous persistent alert, and we can configure how we have to receive that alert. Based on every third error, we have to receive a persistent alert, or every fifth error. So we can also set like multiple settings here, like every 10th error and every fifth error, I have to receive an alert, a continuous persistent alert. Those settings can be configured here. And this is escalation settings, which is primarily when it comes in handy, like when we have L1 teams and L2, L3 leadership teams working. So let us say a downtime has happened in this monitor, and if it is continuously down for 30 minutes, I need to be notified our operations team. So we can create an escalation user alert group for the operation team, and I can select the medium which has to be notified for them. So when the monitor goes down for more than 30 minutes, I will alert my operations team. And if my monitor is down for 60 minutes, then I have to alert my like L5 teams. So we can configure those teams and those setups here, which will effectively manage alerts and acknowledge and outage immediately to reduce the downtime of our actual resources. So these are the settings for notification profile, and we'll have many third-party integrations which is available, which we'll see in further sessions and presentation in detail. So these configuration are like full entirely the basic configuration of website is this advanced check, content check, content checks and HTTP configuration. The rest, threshold, notification, rest configuration profiles, what all discussed, which is common among all the rest of the monitors which are going to discuss. So those details, once we add these details, we can just save the monitor. And so the UI appears like this for the website monitor, where in the summary tab we'll have the availability, response time, downtimes, throughput, and so the DRA status, which is fetched when we adding a DRA monitor, that also we'll check it later. And so the response time graph, which is based on the time frame of last 24 hours, how the website is performing. So what is the total response time? And when we hover over this tab, we'll understand exactly what is monitored in the website monitor. So it will make a DNS connection, and next is the the DNS check, and next is the connection. The connection will be established, and next an SSL handshake will be happening. And the next part is the first byte of time. What is the first byte of data to load, and what is the download time? This all parameter will contribute to the total response time of the website monitor. So we'll have the geomap visibility here. So when it will come up when we are seeing the synthetic and RUM monitoring. So these details are fetched through it. And we have the domain related domain status. So if you are adding any other security monitor, those status will be also visible here. And availability and response time based on the locations. Like we have configured this set of 8-10 locations, and here what is the availability based on each location, and if there is any downtime last 24 hours, and what is the response time performance. So, and response time by each locations, like how is Seattle, how is Chennai is performing, those details will be available here. And outage section always shows the outage if there is any outages, like we seen in monitor groups. So, and the notes is something like inventory, what is the addition time of when this monitor got added, and what all locations and being configured. This is like an inventory part. And log report is the poll by poll value. Like we have seen Seattle is the primary location. Polling has happened from Seattle last at 6:48, and the rest of the secondary locations polling has happened under 6:48, which is the 30-minute frequency, and 6:53 again the polling from Seattle happened. These are like poll by poll data, and these are alert log again, like what all the alerts triggered for this monitor in last 24 hours or last 48 hours, what all alerts has been triggered. So those details can be queried in the alert. So this is pretty much about website monitor and also the configuration profiles that we discussed. So let us move into the next part, which will be like web transactions. So we have discussed on website monitor what all details has been. It helps us to monitor and the insights that it provides, and the configuration part of website, location profiles, threshold profiles for alerts, and how to create it, and notification profiles and use cases, and geomap visibility. This will be discussing more in the synthetic monitoring. So next comes the synthetic monitoring. So synthetic monitoring is something which helps us to monitor an entire set of transaction steps in a website. So let us say like we have a website of like e-commerce website. We are adding an item, or a user enters the website, visits the websites, and he chooses an item and he adds into cart and he proceeds to checkout. So there is a set of actions that user performs. So if there is a frequent step, or else let us take an example of a time entry sheet. So we log into a website, we add a time entry and we save it. So this is a standard procedures which are happening. And if we want to monitor, not only monitor the website performance, I want to monitor the sequence of performance by user and understand where a failure is happening. So whenever a click or like X path of that particular website is getting changed, I want to be notified. So all those details can be covered and monitored under web transaction. So we'll see how a web transaction monitor looks. So we'll take this. So this is the overview of a web transaction monitor. So while to add a web transaction monitor, so you have three different steps. Whether you can record a transaction, that is, for example, we can provide a website, and we can choose which is the mode of recording, to which device you are monitoring the sessions. And installed recorder will take you to an extension where you can add the extension, and once that is done, it will open a recorder here, and you can play the recorder and we can navigate to complete the steps in the website. And once you save it, it will add the monitor, or else you can add a Selenium script, that is the transactions can be added as a Selenium script and added for monitoring. And also for we support multiple set of SaaS applications, like let us Microsoft Teams, Salesforce, or Zendesk, DocuSign. These all, like if you want to monitor any transactions in this specific applications. So we support many number of SaaS application right now in web transaction. This can be also added through this if you want to monitor an Outlook transaction. So that can be added. And once we add this monitor, so this is how the entire view of that monitor looks. We'll have availability and step time. Step time is the average step time of each step. Let us say we have five different steps we have configured, and what is the average step time in the last 48 hours, and what is the transaction time, each transaction time. So what is the average transaction time, how many, what is the downtime. So all those details can be viewed in the summary. Let us take this transaction time. We can see that how much of time is each step is taking. So we have the landing page, which is taking 2.92 seconds, and the second page is taking around 8.92 seconds for the transaction, and step 3 is taking around 1 second. So we will split up everything and we'll show it in a graphical representation. And in advance to this, we have this snapshots. What is the step 1 details, what is step 2, what is the what is going to be performed in step 3. All those snapshot will be captured here, where we will be able to see the resources which are part of this. It gives you a waterfall chart. In the first landing zone, what all the contents, like website contents has been loaded, like CSS, Java, what is the load time for it, what is the amount of data which has been each component is loading, and how much time it takes, and first bird time, start render time, and including page load time. So this will have the entire waterfall chart. And if there is any console errors found, like any particular navigation is failing, that any clicks are failing, and or any like API that has been called part of is like failing, so those console errors will be there. And also you can view the entire HTML of this particular page, where you can understand where the failure it is. So these details will be captured, a screenshot history will be taken. And so a step time by location. So each step, let us say we are navigating from adding an item and adding it to cart, and the next step. So for those each step, so what is the response, like step time or response time by location, like Mumbai, Hong Kong, Riyadh. Based on each location, what is the time period it is taken, and the geo map, it will take how globally how this is performing, like based on the locations. So we can see an overview, like what is the response time, what is the availability based on regions, what is the availability percent for Mumbai, and how it is performing in certain regions. So those details can be viewed here in the geo map, what we have seen. And this is the outage section, like if there is any outage which has been notified in last 48 hours, those will be marked here, like similarly in outage tab. And availability and step time by location, where we'll see both availability and the step time by, like total time and step time by the locations. So those details will be over, these are the overall details which will cover in a web transaction monitor. And so also this is the configuration part of web transaction monitor. Let us say, so this is the we'll add a display name, and we add a base URL, so that when we record, it will be automatically a base URL will be selected and it will be added. So if we can edit, so let us like we discussed, we can either add it via recording or a Selenium script which we have. So here it is a web script which is a Selenium script, which this 5 to 7 step is performed. So those can be added with the proper XPath and clicks, and all those can be added as a web script. And this in the edit steps, we can edit the steps, like which we have configured. If we want to change any UI, URL which has been added as base, or any in between steps, if you want to change any configurations, or like if you want to set up alerts in each step, like a keyword has to be present in the step, or like a content check or a URL check. So if we want to check any specific content URLs to be present in the specific step, if not, if we need to be notified as trouble or down, or like if you want to have a keyword present. So those details can be configured in each step, and also threshold can be also configured in stepwise, so that in each step level we'll be able to receive a notification, and which will help the end users to identify where actually the failure is. And instead of going through each and every transaction, so we'll be able to understand, so what is the performance based on transactions or not. And so let us go to the configuration paths, a list of the configuration. We have page load timeout settings, which is 45 seconds. And so if the page load, like there's a total content load timing, that if it does not if it is crosses 45 seconds, and if you want to be notified, we can set those thresholds here. And the resolution which we are monitoring, and the browser which we want to monitor this transaction, because these web transaction monitoring is done through the browser level a transaction that we will simulate. So we are simulating the transaction from a browser, and we are recording these details, so those details will be available here. And if the parallel polling has to be enabled, so let us say in a transaction monitor, so if you are choosing like 7 to 8 locations, and parallel polling has to happen on all the 7 locations. So that is actually not a suggestible case, but in case, so based on the use cases, if we need to enable parallel polling from multiple locations, we can use this option. And what is the check frequency? We can set up to 5 minutes for this web transaction monitor. And rest of the configuration which we see, like header, if an header has to be passed while accessing this particular URL or step, like we seen, so we can configure those header like when we access this website. Or if you want to have a like authentication which has to be configured, so that authentication can be configured here as well. And if you want to ignore the failure of each step, like if a single step failures, if you want to ignore the monitor, or if you have to halt the monitoring there when a step fails, so those details can be configured here. Ignore the step or action, and not, or if we need to be notified if a step fails, so those details are also available. So where we can configure those details. And user alert groups, which we have seen already, a threshold and availability. So this is a different monitor type. So comparing to website, you will see different thresholds which is available for web transaction based thresholds available here. We can configure the values based on our website working, observing how our website performs. And user alert group and on-call schedule or notification profile can be added. So this is about web transaction browser monitoring. And so let us move to like web page speed monitoring in the next. So comparing it to this website and web page web transaction browser monitoring. So this web transaction will web page speed browser monitoring will come in handy when we want to monitor each and every component of website, for a website which we are monitoring. So let us see the configuration part here. Okay, so this is the we have in web page speed. We'll just add a URL which we want to monitor for the components time period and everything. So, and we'll have provided display name, and we'll have the similar page load time settings, and check frequency will be configured. And these are like IPv4 preferences, like we seen in website monitor, which is the preferred IP which we have to add. And so if you want to wait after load, if it's a static website, we have to wait for some time. Or dynamic website, like it changes, the content will be changing based on the user interactions. If you want to wait after, like we'll wait up to 10 seconds, so those configuration can be made here. And select the browser, like in web transaction we can add it. And so the network speed usually which we want to monitor, and device type, which is a desktop or mobile or tab. So those details can be added. This will be used for our monitoring, that simulating the monitoring using this setup. So from our global locations, or like an on-premise poller which we are going to set up, and monitor group can be added. And also like in content checks, we can provide the content value or content checks which we want to like check in when we are accessing this website, if the certain content should be present or case sensitive. These are details we have seen already in a website monitor. So the additional thing so which we have is we can provide XPath configuration, like a string element as an XPath, and pass it to over the website when we are sending a request. Or we can have a link validation that we can send it in the response headers. So these will can validate with this will be an additional feature which we can validate using web page speed browser. And so HTTP configuration, we have post and git methods where we can send headers, and user agent can be selected Mozilla or Chrome, or based on a setup. And also the authentication, if that website have any authentications, we can use that. And web credentials, like we've seen credential profile in the configuration profile, where it comes in handy. We don't have to provide a username and password, like exposing it directly. We can create a credential profile so that all will be encrypted. We can provide the username and password, so every details will be encrypted, and it will be passed along in the encryption, so that we can access the website when we are doing the monitoring. And accepted HTTP codes, like we can set to 400 or 300 if has to be accepted, and accepted as an uptime in our case instead of considering a downtime. And also the trust the certificate, SSL certificate or not. So when it is a self-signed certificate and we wanted to trust it, so those details can be configured here. And rest comes as similarly, threshold and notification will be similar to the other monitor which we have seen. So once these details are like added and saved, so we'll have this page load time in website monitor. We might have seen that download time is the last set of time which we monitor from DNS connection to connection time, and the download time is the way a time where we stop the monitoring in website. But in web page monitor, web page speed browser, we'll continuously monitor until your entire page load time. The page load time includes the last content of your website completely. It takes time to load. So when you are accessing this website, so what is the total time taken to entirely load the website is calculated in the web page speed browser. And also it will gives us the web vitals, which is very much important, like first content paint, how the website is like seen in a user level interaction, what is the score of cumulative layout shift, and what is the DNS time, connection time based on locations. And so what is the performance of the each component included in that website. Like for example, this is let us say this JS component is giving us a 404 error, and how much of response time it is taking. It is 490 millisecond, even if it is causing a delay for your website when the user interaction happens, so which is taking longer time. So all those details can be viewed in this waterfall chart. We can filter these details like using this top filter, where we want to only see HTML data or JavaScripts, so this can be also filtered out. And the average size by resource type, so like we seen what a CSS is taking more size, or like script or image, whichever it is taking more size, and which is causing a higher load time for the website. And web vitals of fast contentful paint, and the geo map which we discussed in synthetic monitoring will be also available here, so we can able to see how the website is performing in different regions. And so the outage histories and page load time by locations, like based on locations configured, it will give you the availability and the page load time. Like we are mainly monitoring page load time in the web page speed browser. So and the abduct summary and everything will come in RUM, which we are like going to discuss further in the session. And so this is pretty much about web transaction browser. We have seen like web transaction and web page speed browser. So what is the configuration, what all details we can add, and so what all details which are available in web page speed browser. And then also one other setting is, so if you want to add any block list of domains, like let us say if you want to monitor avoid a certain domains from the web page speed browser, so we'll have a setting called like edit block list. So this block list will help you to, that will be like the domains that site like that will be blocked by site 24/7 and will not be monitoring that part of domains, that can be also added in the web page speed browser. And SaaS, we've seen like we support multiple synthetic monitoring for multiple SaaS application as well. We can monitor the transactions of this SaaS applications which we support by default. So we have seen the configuration. And so we'll be moving to REST API monitoring. And so before we continue the rest of the topics, let us take a 10-minute break, and we'll be resuming it as after 10 minutes. So let us have a refresher breather session, and we'll come back and we'll continue the session with the rest of the topics from REST API monitoring. Yeah. Thanks everyone. Let us take a short break now. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. So I believe everyone was able to take a short break and be back. So let us resume this presentations of and training. Continue this, and so I just wanted to confirm once if my screen is visible and I am clear with my audio. So can you give a thumbs up? And also I'm checking with my co-trainer. I will get the conversation. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your confirmations. So let us continue with the training, rest of the training. So we are continuing with REST API monitoring. So until now we have seen in detail about website, web transactions, and with page speed browsers. So REST APIs, when it comes to API, so we all have it in the monitoring environment and the organization environment. We'll have this certain set of APIs which we need to monitor because the web application backgrounds will be mostly on APIs. So when we want to monitor those API availability and response time, like similar to website which we are monitoring, here we'll be monitoring instead of the website domain, we'll be monitoring the REST API endpoints. And apart from it, the additional feature of REST API is in comparing to website. Here in REST API, we'll have additional HTTP methods which will be support HTTP configuration methods. Like we can see post, get, put, delete, patch, head. There are like multiple MK, COL, and connect options, and trace, copy, move. These type of headers will be supported in REST API monitoring. And so we'll also look into this REST API monitor once. So we have this monitor where it will give us the response time of the REST API endpoint, like us similar to a website, but it is for an REST API, and we can see the geographical performance of this particular REST API and location based performance and the response time based on locations. All those details will be available. And to see the say configuration, so is simple. Actually, we have to just add the REST API endpoint, and we have to either choose an on-premise polar location, or we can set the global locations, which we, as we discussed, we support around 130 global locations which we have. So we will be able to monitor these endpoints from those locations. And check frequency we can set as low as 10 seconds. So here, as I said, the rest of the while rest of the configuration will be similar to a website monitor, we can see the response which we can content checks which we can do via XML, like we seen in web page speed browser. We can send JSON content to check a JSON path expression and check the content change to if any content is changing from this JSON, and what is the severity which we have to be notified. And JSON schema check can also be done. So also in HTTP configuration, like we discussed, in website we'll have only get, post, and head. So where we'll have multiple other methods supported for REST API because of the natural working of the API endpoints. And we can provide the authentication methods. We'll support these type of, if REST API endpoints have authentication method, we can choose anything from this authentication method and choose the credentials or token for the same. Like client certificate can be uploaded, and the query authoritative name server. So list all the other similar configuration which we seen in a website. And here we'll be able to monitor the REST API endpoint performance as well. And so after REST API, we have something called REST API transaction. So the REST API transaction monitor. So we all know that like high performance modern applications are built like using built, and the performance are mainly dependent on the API endpoints of those services. So let us say we have a set of REST APIs where like one set of output of a content or a response body from that particular REST API endpoint will be passed to the next one. Let us say if we are taking a distributed tracing between application, some different services. So these endpoints will these endpoints are heavily this endpoint the services are heavily dependent on these endpoints, and the performance of these endpoints are critical to be monitored. So we can have multiple that stack of flow of endpoints configured, REST API endpoint configured, and the transaction of those between steps can be monitored using the REST API transactions. So here we'll quickly see the configuration. So we'll add the name, a check frequency, and location which we have to choose. And here we'll be adding the step. Let us say, for if we are adding a step, we will be providing a step name and the endpoint. So once we provide the endpoint, what is the stop delay, and what is the response format which we see, and content check has to be configured, what is the HTTP headers. And when we come to this additional feature where we have like advanced configuration, like similar to other monitors which we seen, we can choose connection timeout, IPv6 preferred preference, and accepted HTTP codes. And the highlight of this content is the parameter forwarding. So in this parameter forwarding, let us say this initial XML, the first endpoint which we are adding needs an input of an XML path, a dollar value, an expression JS path, value as password as an input, and the password gets us an output to the next step. So these parameter forwarding can be configured. This will come in handy when the output of the first endpoint acts as an validation source to the next endpoint. So this sequence, like we can add multiple endpoints here, like 1 2, we can keep on adding these steps, and we can configure up to a certain number of steps here in REST API transaction, and we can like monitor all the stepwise details in the REST API transaction monitor. And in the performance metrics, we'll include this response time, transaction time, that is each transaction of each API is considered, the time of each API is considered as a transaction time, and the region wise performance, and location wise response time, and location wise availability plus response time. All those details can be monitored in the REST API transaction monitoring. And so we have this is a REST API which we see in the REST API transaction. And so other internet services monitoring, so we have seen this set of critical internet services monitoring, and also we have this few other sets of monitoring which we'll have a quick go through on this. So web socket monitoring, like to establish socket, establish a connection between a client and a server. So this socket connection, so if you want to monitor the socket connection availability, we can go with WebSocket monitoring. We'll just provide the socket URL, and we'll add the rest of the details would be similar to monitor the performance of like availability and this availability of a WebSocket monitor. So, and DNS server. So this is a forward lookup monitoring of a DNS server. Let us say for your domain, we need to monitor the domain, if the domain resolves correctly, and it resolves correctly against the CNAME, and it has the proper DNS records, the CNAME, A records, and NS lookup values. So those all parameters can be monitored in this DNS server monitoring. We here in DNS as well, we'll be just providing the configuring, providing a display name, and providing the domain, and rest of the details are similar to what we've seen till now. And we can add this domains, and if what all their domains which will get resolved will be listed here. And we'll once we add the monitor, the details will be populated. I'll just give an idea of DNS as well. So this is one of the DNS monitor, and we can see the performance response time of that location. And if any DNS fails from any location, if it is not resolving to the desired setup, all those details can be monitored in the DNS monitoring. And so answer validation is available, so we can provide the address and what is the TTL value should be. So those answer validation can be also configured in this DNS monitoring to check those details. And so this is the DNS sec validation. So if you want to enable to validate the DNS responses using this DNSSEC validation, you can just enable it in this setup, and we can also choose protocol to validate this DNS domains. So those details will be available in the DNS configurations. So, and port monitoring, so we can provide a port configuration of a domain to like validate the port availability. So in case of the port is not available, we'll send an alerts. We can set up alerts to receive alerts. So this is a domain, and what is the port which we have to mention TCP port monitoring. So that is possible using this port monitor. And UDP monitor is available, where we monitor the UDP port of from different location for a domain or website which we are monitoring. And this will be the UDP port configuration, UDP port monitor configuration. And ping monitor. So using ping monitor, we'll be sending packets from the locations or on-premise poller, which is the based on which will be set up based on the use case. So we'll be sending packets, like we'll send around 4 packets in each polling interval which we are configuring. And if any one single packet is successful, we will not mark the monitor as down, and it will be still up. That is that still the communication is happening. But if all packets are failed, then we'll mark the monitor as down. This is the configuration way. So we'll monitor the response time and availability using of availability for that particular IP or host using this ping monitor. So this is the ping monitor setup, where we'll provide the host name or IP. Instead of host name, we can also provide IP and check frequency. So where we'll be able to monitor the IP from the using ping setup, which is ICMP. And so services which we monitor, like other internet services, are FTP, SMTP, and POP server monitors. And we support monitoring for NTP server monitor as well. So where we have to check the time from between the NTP server and the rest of the other secondary servers, or it will always check for the synchronization. It will check for the NTP server time, and it's synchronized with the secondary NTP servers which we configured. And if there is any deviation or is a drift between the time, so if we can also set thresholds for the time drift, what is the time drift threshold. If there is any deviation, we'll send alerts and notify the uh, performance, that is availability of that email delivery to internal and external mailboxes. So we can it helps to give the mail delivery monitor will give insights on that. So the working of mail delivery monitor is that so Site24x7 acts as a client, and it will send a request to the SMTP monitor, and the SMTP server. The SMTP server will trigger an email to the configured mail inbox, so that this particular total time frame and the receive of the mail will be tracked, email will be tracked, and we'll have those performance tracked here. So let us see quickly on the SMTP configuration, mail delivery configurations. So we'll add a new mail delivery monitor. So we can provide a display name and check frequency. And so we'll configure whether we have to use Site24x7's SMTP server, or if we have SMTP host that can be used, we'll provide those details, like a host IP or host name details. And if you want to use SSL connection or enable TLS, that can be configured here. And the from email address from which we have to track this request. So from no reply at site247.com, and to the to email address, which is a certain email inbox, we can let it be a DL email or any other email which we have to track. We can configure those. And if there is any authentication need to be configured for this mail delivery, those can be also configured here. And the POP or IMAP. So we all know, like, POP or IMAP is the setup for the modern email delivery. So enable fetching using POP. If we are setting as no, we don't have to provide any details, like basic delivery will be checked, or else we can use a Site24x7's POP or IMAP server, or like we can configure the server which is available within the user. And the protocol which has to be checked, we can hard code it with only POP or IMAP. And the connection settings, and we'll be providing the IMAP host name when it is IPAP, or if it is POP, we'll provide the POP host IP. And we'll configure the username and password details if it is there for this authentication for the test the mail delivery. And the mail will be this entire round trip time of that mail, from where Site24x7 triggers the request to SMTP server, and the SMTP server triggers the email to the inbox. So those entire time will be tracked here. And once we save this monitor, so we'll have that performance and captured. And so right now, yeah, so we have this SMTP DNS response. What is the connection time? This is the request trigger from the Site24x7 client, and what is the mail delay, and if it is so if it is failing anywhere, and if it is taking longer time, where is the delay occurs, all those details for a successful mail delivery of two internal or external mailboxes can be monitored, and all other details by response time by locations and availability and response by location will be available for this mail delivery as well. And let us move forward. A web service monitor, where we'll monitor the soap based web services availability and performance of this soap web service is supported, and we'll monitor it, the response time, and using XML, and if it is does not bear the specified soap attribute, we'll be able to set alerts for the same. So is a soap setup, and this is how we can this is the basic configuration for a soap web service configuration. We'll be adding the a domain of the endpoint, and what is the soap message that has to be passed along with the URL when we are monitoring or sending request. And FTP transfer is the file transfer protocol monitoring. So let us say we have a FTP service, and if you want to monitor the file upload from that endpoints, like if the file upload and download is happening in this FTP server from multiple locations without any causes, or if there is any delay caused, we will simulate that with an 10 KB TXT file. We'll monitor regularly and we'll send alert if this file upload or download fails. And so this is the just configuration for the FTP transfer monitor. This will be like pretty simple. Just we need to provide the designated path or a path of upload alone as an additional setting when we compare that to the rest of the monitors. And ISP latency. So ISP latency is one other important part when we are monitoring the ISP latency. So it will help us to monitor the jitter, network path analysis, connection of this domain. So it will give the entire hop count connection and autonomous system number based details. All those things can be monitored using this ISP latency. It will give detailed insights of the latency based on ISPs. So let us see the ISP latency monitor once. Okay. Okay, this is one of the ISP latency monitor. Here in the configuration part, we'll be just adding the domain name of which we want to monitor and the locations. Once we add this in this ISP latency monitor, we have the setup to get the latency from different location, and it will show us the unreachable paths and what is the maximum latency and what is from which and that is from the which location it is, and minimum latency and maximum hop which is observed from the location. So has been marked here. So it is all the data are based on the time period which we set here in the top right corner of the time settings, and the latency based on the locations and jitter. So these are like one important factor when we monitoring the ISP latency, and if there is any packet loss based on the location, and the hop count. So what is the hop counts and maximum hop counts taken from each locations. So these all can be latency based on paths, like latency, jitter, hop count based on location is categorized in this table. And the network path analysis, one other important part here. So let us see, here we can see the location Columbus, US is taking more number of hops. So if you see the network analysis part, we can see the Columbus and how many number of paths it has been taken, and where is the redirection happening, why is the time taking between these two hops, these two IPs, it is larger when it compared to rest of the network path analysis. And it helps us to identify where which hop is taking more time, and where there is a delay, and where there is a reroute happening in the connection through the ISP. Those all details can be monitored, and it gives you a clear view of in the network path analysis. And also we have that autonomous system number flow, which will give an entire architecture of this ASN details. So these are the details of ISP latency monitor. And as I said, like one we will have the protocol and the domain. So rest all are like similar configuration. So this will be fixed. All the details will be fixed accordingly. So this is the ISP latency monitor metrics. And yeah, so these are the monitor. And GR, we also support this a remote procedure called monitoring. So where let us say in grpc comes in handy when we have high performance applications. And so this grpc endpoints can be used to understand the availability of these services which is running, and to monitor this grp through this grpc endpoint, we will be able to understand the performance and availability of that particular service. So we are supporting grpc through our locations. So this can be added to understand the like availability of the services using grpc. And the file upload monitor again, so we'll upload the file to a specific endpoint. And so if it is a file upload endpoint, and we'll monitor that if any failure is happening in the file upload, we'll send an alert for that as well. And application cluster monitoring is like we have a set of REST API endpoints which is connected as a cluster, so that can be added all together as application cluster and can be monitored in a single dashboard view. So we support that application cluster monitoring in Site24x7 as well. And these, let us move to this security related monitoring which are available in site which we support in Site24x7. So first which comes a web defacement monitor. So web for a defacement checks are like so whenever an malicious or content or present in your website. So in the proactive monitoring to understand if there is something wrong with the website contents which is posted, and based on script or image or anchor, like if any third party has hacked the website and has changed the content. So if there is any defacement happened in your website, so those details can be modified using this security related monitor which comes under web defacement. So we'll be able to add around 10 to 20 defacement domains including subdomains in the configuration. So once we added all the defacement will be categorized based on script, image, anchor, or iframe and links. So based on if any deviation is happening from the initial upload which we are doing, so all those details will be monitored and alerts will be triggered accordingly. So we'll see the defacement monitor once. So here, this is a defacement monitor added for a specified URL. We can see all the current page statuses and what is the defacement state. So when we initially onboard the website, so this there is a document structure where we'll be able to get the script details and iframe details, link details, and based on CSS and the JavaScripts, which is the JavaScripts which are available in this web page. So HTML contents, all those will be marked as a standard document part in when this website is added for in a defacement monitoring. And from there, if any deviation is observed in this particular website, so if there is a content is changing, like so let us say for this manageagent.com page is changed, so certain page is getting changed, so certain content is getting modified, we can see element defacement script, or if an element that is an XPath element is changed, or if a script is changed or a text is changed on the website. And so if that modification is happening a certain more than a certain amount of percentage, we'll trigger alerts for it and we'll notify the user that this has been changed and this could be a malicious content or which has been changed, so or it is a manual change. So we can check the defacement details and mark it accordingly. And here we'll, in the configuration, we'll just add a domain, and so we can configure which all domain we have to allow. If you want to restrict anything, we can just exclude, then add only the allowed domains here. So we can add up to 10 pages. And so here if we see there is a domain, we are adding in the first URL as manageengine.com, and by here in the threshold detection we can set it either as manual or auto. So what is that type of threshold detection? In auto, it will compare it with the previous deviation and it will automatically set a threshold for deviation alert when it crosses a sudden margin, like the sudden high margin, and it intelligently captures those deviations and will alert the user. In manual, we can manually set the what is the script modification threshold or content modification threshold which we need to have in place when and to an alert to be triggered when the deviation happens. So these are the defacement options which we can choose to monitor, or if you want to only choose the image defacement, we can also exclude those things and select those, make those adjustments and configurations here, and the rest of the details are same. So this is about the web defacement monitor. And we have seen, and real-time blocklist monitor. So there are like blocklist providers who have list, which will list the websites which are like identified as a spam, or like if it is not an eligible website. So there are like certain popular like blocklist providers. So when you are adding a domain for monitoring in blocklist, so here Site24x7 will monitor this website presence in any of the popular blocklist providers. If the domain or website comes in categorized in any of the popular blocklist providers, will immediately notify the user, so they can go ahead and like validate why it has been marked as an uh, block, by why it has been marked in the block list. And like it will helps the users to feel safer to communicate to a website and use the website more when it comes if it comes into a business, if it is not listed in the popular block list domains. So those can be monitored in the block list, and these are the popular block list providers which we use. And we're going to the configuration. This is, we can choose the block list providers which we want and assess the block list accordingly against these block list providers. And brand reputation, so we have this a web like a reputation list from Google, where it lists the website, like if it is having a like an expired like outdated software, or if it is having a like malicious or phishing details in the website or content in the website, it will be listed in the Google's web risk list. So if we'll continuously check in the Google's web risk list, and if the domain is present there, we'll immediately alert the user, so that we can make that reputation of that domain safer, and have it working continuously. And so this is the web. And SSL and TLS will monitor the certificate expiry and validation, and so any blacklisted checks for SSL certificate which you have to monitor for a domain. So if a certificate is expiring for a domain, so we'll notify when we have settings to alert based on that SSL or TLS certificate which is available for the domain. We'll be adding the domain, and we'll monitor the certificate which is applied for this particular domain. And domain expiry helps users to proactively notify on the domain expiry when it is getting expired from the registrar or registrar where we have applied and received a domain based on our name. So if it will be notified, and the renewal, so user can proactively renew this domain name, and so instead of missing out any last minute changes for the user domains. So that comes into domain, and this pretty much covers this internet services and website monitoring. So this website is entirely for like ensuring availability and response time for the website, where like other internet service monitoring, like it comes additional like file upload, DNS, ping, are like the services which are reliable, and like which helps the website performs much better based on this performance of this. And synthetic monitor, we'll be able to simulate a user journey and get the details, like how is the performance when we navigate between the website using transactions. And web security helps you to like safeguard the websites, like based on your certificates are updated and there is no malicious software, and or a website is safe to use and it is not listed in any block list providers. So when so these are some few best practices. So we can always configure string checks to make sure that that content which is available already, make sure which is already available in the website, which is checked, which will make sure the website is available even in certain distortions or anything. And in web transaction, like when you're recording a transaction, when you're adding this you can do it in incognito, which will like avoid the caches of most of the autofills, so that will have that simulation much better. And like always bypass the caches when you're adding like monitoring, so it will ensure the uninterpreted test executions of those website monitors which we are going to add. And so what's new here, we have supported synthetic browser monitors are now supported on Polar. So enabling browser-based monitoring from on-premise Polar is supported as a newly released feature. And the next part of this is we are going to RUM, which is the real user monitoring. So RUM is, we can tell it as real user monitoring, or it is a front-end monitoring to understand the web application performance in a front-end user perspective. Let us say we have a web application published, and like it released across the globe, and users are using. So we want to, and we have certain users will have logins and will log into the website. But whenever a failure occurs, we'll be in a blind spot. We'll not be able to understand where exactly the failure is happening. So where from based on the like default monitoring which we do, we understand the response time is higher, but we'll not understand response time is higher from which region or which type of device. Let us say like few users, here an example, we have 100 users, and 80 users will have a proper response time and application performance will be good for the people. But for the rest of the 20, when this application performance is failing, we'll not be able to understand why it is failing in a terms of for certain users alone. So there comes the RUM monitoring use case, where we'll be able to understand and our user performance based on certain type of how the web application is performing in certain device, in a phone or a tablet or in an Linux OS or in a Windows or Chrome browser. So where exactly it is failing, or is it failing based on ISPs? So all those details will be covered in this RUM monitoring, where we get detailed insights of a front-end performance of a web application. So this is in the pretty much the architecture, where we'll have the user will be loading the website in a tablet or mobile phone or a computer, so based on which OS it is. So it will collect the data and it will calculate, analysis the network time, and it will push it to Site 24/7 data center. So here we'll see how we'll add a RUM monitor initially. So it will give us an idea of how the RUM monitoring happens. So we have a section called APM, or we have a section called separately RUM here. From here, we'll be go if we're able to go to this specific RUM monitoring, and we'll be able to see the data. Let us see. This is this is one single RUM monitor which we have. So the configuration is that we'll add the web application's URL, and we'll set up an AppDex score based on the application performance globally. What is the AppDex score? Response time needs to be calculated for the AppDex score, so that can be provided an application framework, whether it's a traditional or SPA, like modern based application. Traditional application will have multiple separate pages, sub pages, and SPA will have the navigate along within the same page of the website. And and if we need to track ajax calls that are like third party calls or like cross domain ajax calls, which have to monitor, those can be enabled. And if you have to exclude any ajax calls, those can be configured. Exclude any web pages from certain pages of your web application has to be excluded. Or bot request, there will be, if in case there is any bot request that comes to your web application or website, and that has to be excluded from monitoring. So those can be configured here. And domain configuration and user agent configuration, like we have to exclude any specific browser type to understand the performance of your web application, can be configured here. And if you want to track IP addresses of the users which are accessing your from the device IP, from where the users are accessing your web application, those can be tracked using the IP configuration, geolocation configuration. And track events are nothing but clicks that user makes, like let us say they did clicks, or if any failure clicks which is happening, whatever the action a user takes in a web page of your application, that is all tracked as events if you want to track that. So that can be enable. And resource performance, how the each resource is performing, that is exactly the contents of the web application. And if you have to capture session replays, like it is an entire user session, what he has performed will be captured and shown as a session replay. So those all details will pretty much cover under the RUM configuration. So once we add these details, it will give us a script, which will generate a script like this, for example. So this will generate a RUM script. So once we provide this detail, this RUM script has to be added to the actual original HTML file in the header of the HTML file of the web application, or a web application which we are trying to monitor. Once this is invoked in the header, so all the details will be captured, and from each, when the browser access this web application from the browser, those details will be sent to Site 24/7. from the user browser, whoever it is accessing the specific web application. So these are the supported browsers which we support. And so now we'll move to the performance of this RUM monitoring. So we have AppDex. Initially we have configured the AppDex score. Based on the AppDex, it will show us the score, what is the score of this website. So AppDex score is calculated from 0 to 1. So when the AppDex score is 1, all users are satisfied. When the AppDex score is 0, then it means no users are satisfied, which means that the AppDex score in the 0 to 1 ratio, if the website, the web application is identified as performing well when the AppDex score is high, so which is in the 0 to 1 ratio. And here we'll have the response time. Page views are like how many pages has been viewed in the web application by users across users, and how many errors has been faced, and what are the active session. Let us say for the last 30 minutes there are like 7 sessions, that is like 7 sessions that's been triggered from the users, and there are like 2 or active sessions are currently available, currently going on. There is 2 active sessions. So AppDex score, response time, page views can be split across region wise, and we can understand the performance region wise, how it is performing, how the performance is across the regions based on the response time or AppDex score or error, like which region is having more number of errors using the geo view. And so we can also add trace routes, initiate trace route for any specific a part. If you need, we will have that feature to add the trace route here. We have to just provide the domain, and we create a trace route name, and from the location it will create a trace route, and it will give us the entire hop and details in the network path analysis. If you want to immediately trigger and check for any trace route, that option is here. And the response times based on the user connections from different locations. So what is the response time, and what is the web vitals? This is again so web vitals are something which is discovered by Google. So based on this web vitals, it will be able to, the scoring of this, you will be able to understand how the website is visualized in the end user, like how user friendly the website is, how easily it is loading, the parts of your web application is loading, especially in mobile devices, how this web vitals plays an important role to understand the performance of the web application to the end users. And so this session is like user session, how many number of user session has been happened in the last 30 minutes, like only one session is there. And like page views, what is the page views, total page views in the last 30 minutes, and the throughput of the website. So these are the overall summary details which we capture. And like we seen in the geographic, we have separate tab. We have to see the geographic level details based on the region, based on the country, and what is the in USA, what is the countries, and what is the performance based on each countries. All those details can be seen here. And ISP level performance for this particular web application which we are showcasing here, these are the ISPs. And based on ISPs, what is the performance, what is the response time, and what is the total count of requests from each ISPs, and where it is, if from an ISP, if it is taking more number of time, we can understand the problem is with the ISP level connectivity, and we can solve that issue out basically. So basically it helps us to narrow down the issue based on wherever the delay, or like how we can improve the performance of the web application to the end users. And this is the browser level performance, as we said, like through which browser or the users are mostly accessing this web application from Chrome and from other browsers. Like it will define for Chrome, Firefox, which are supported browser. For others which we don't support, it will be coming under the other categories. So what is the performance on that? And so based on device types, which we can see is like 4G connections, and the desktop is Linux, or if it is based on Windows, what is the performance, what is the count of request, and what is the device count, like how many devices are from Linux, what is the count of devices that has been sent a request or access the web application, and like what is the response time based on these devices. All those details will be available in the device type performance. And the web pages, so these are the web pages of that monitored web publication. And what is the web page performance, average response time based on throughput or total count, all those details will be available here. And waterfall chart, again, for it will give you a detailed insights on each web page, and how the components are broke down, how the components has been performing for each web page. And web vitals, like first contentful paint and so largest contentful paint and all those details will be available. And third party domains, first part domains, what all been what is the performance based on that third party and first party domains. And so if there is any compressed resources, uncompressed resources, so what is the domain and what is the uncompressed resource and what is the size of that particular uncompressed resource, which we can majorly work upon and improve the performance of this web application. And what all the HTTP calls which is happening, all those are there in available here. And web vitals, as we seen, this is the total score based on how the website is like web application is performing for the end user. So this will much be helpful for this score is calculated, and Site24x7 measures the score. Based on this, we'll be able to understand how good that web application is performing. And next major part for this RUM monitoring is user sessions. Like we all look forward to, we need to, like, there'll be multiple users accessing the web application. So we need to know, like, how like for example, for one user, how the web application is performing. So what all navigation that the user has taken, so which all web pages the user visited, and what is the time taken for each web page for the user navigation. So where it is taking more time and where the performance is impacted, or like how where the performance is already going well, all those details can be viewed under the user sessions. And session replay, like we said, if you are enabling a session replay, so it'll record the entire replay. Like in this, it will have a recording. So what all details that the user has navigated through, what all web pages user viewed, what is the action performed by this user. So all those details will be available in the session replay, which will be able to understand the real time, instead of not only checking the pages in an API level perspective or a transaction level perspective. We'll be able to understand in a clear UI level, console level perspective, like how that website is loading or taking live for taking time for each single users which is accessing the web application. So filterable performance is an additional feature where we can filter out based on this. Let us say I want the one such user from this region. I'm taking so from Milano, I need an user, like, and I need the understand the performance of this specific page from the Milano location. We can just filter out and narrow down and take a performance details of a certain application, where we in other tabs we are seeing all the details like populated for the web application which is monitored. Here we can narrow down the details of each for each website or each web page or each user, and then we can narrow down what we can understand for Linux from this region. What is the performance when Linux using a like Edge browser, or like using like a Chrome browser, what is the performance. So those details can be filtered out individually and can be seen. Like if we are enabling event, which we have seen in the configuration, events are enabled, all the dead clicks or putbacks or rage clicks, so excessive crawling. So what is the performance based on this user inputs in the web application. That is, whatever the user action is performed is considered as events. All will be tracked. How many number of dead clicks has been performed, so which user has performed, how many number of count of actions has performed by which user. So how was the performance of the web application when these are actions are happening. All these details entirely, the web actions can be monitored in these events when we enable it, and we'll have something to query. These all details can be queried in the RUM session player events. So we'll get all those details, and we can also export this details outside. So these are details. And resources, we'll also monitor the first party resources, third party resources in the web application, how the performance is for dependent on the same domain and the external domains. So those details will be there. And Ajax calls, which are the Ajax calls made from the website, those will be tracked separately and the performance will be shown here. And JavaScript errors, so we'll capture all the JavaScript errors for the specified website. When a user is accessing, if any JavaScript error is found, what all the errors, what is the count, and what are from which browser we have seen more number of JavaScript errors and affected users for this due to this error, and which environments and releases this affects. All those details will be captured in JavaScript errors. So this is pretty much RUM monitoring, which helps us give us a complete overview of an web application in a front-end perspective. So this we have seen all those details. And so we'll moving into our last topic of the session next. So is the DRA monitoring. So So we have seen JavaScript errors, web vitals, and RUM events, which is the user clicks and session replays, data collection stat. It's just that we in all the monitors we'll have this data collection stat, which is the log report, which will be marked as log report, which is the poll value of any monitor. So we'll have a log data collection stats, which is the log report. We'll have each poll by poll data for all the monitors. Like the each every minute this data will be sent, and when there is no actions taken in the browser, the data will be empty. Rest of the time, every minute the data will be sent, and if there is any actions taken in the web application, those details will be also can be seen and exported from here. So we can set alerts for different attributes and everything. All those are possible here. Okay, I just got to know from my colleague that my voice is not clear. So is it any better right now? Sorry for any inconvenience. So can you like someone give a thumbs up, like if my voice is clear and my screen is visible? Yeah. Yeah, thanks for confirming. Let us continue with this training. Sure. So data collection stats covers RUM alerting. So these are like we have discussed on threshold, like previously for different type of monitors. For similarly for RUM, if any data collection is not happening from the RUM monitor, that is from the web application, we can configure alerts for it. So those are possible. And the additional options which I need to mention regarding RUM is now supported to monitor the WordPress applications and also the Wix based applications. So we can WordPress plugin will be able to monitor websites built on WordPress. We'll be able to monitor through Site24x7 RUM, and also which is built on Wix can be monitored now using Site24x7 RUM monitoring. Not only the traditional building, so we can also use the WordPress or Wix, and that can be monitored through Site24x7. So we have reports like user session reports, like what we seen in the console. We can have those user session reports exported and taken. And so best practices for RUM is like we need to enable the SPA if it is a modern application, so that in the configuration, if we need to make that changes properly, and we can track the custom metrics like user ID actions. It is better to track the user IDs and mention to understand, to narrow down, to understand which user is facing the problem or anything. So we'll have a setting called custom attributes where we can pass that username, because defaultly the username will not be captured, it will be an encrypted name. So those settings has to be enabled. So we have to make sure those. So these are some few best practices, and we have to set a meaningful response time threshold for an AppDex score calculation. So that will make sure you're clear. You have a clear idea on your AppDex score based. Clear idea for the AppDex score, and the performance will be monitored accordingly. What we configure to the AppDex. And next we want to go to the final topic of the session, which is DRA, Digital Risk Analyzer. So to put it in a simple way, so DRA is something cyber security or a third-party risk analyzing solution, which helps the user to understand the security risks of the domain, which is the domain of the organization, as well as the like vendor provided domains. So we can this helps the user to monitor both the owned domain and the vendor provided domain against the cyber security or like third party risk assessment for audits, like for any exploitation or vulnerabilities for a domain. So all those will be calculated, like threats will be calculated, and it can be monitored using the digital risk analyzer. This is actually sub product of Site24x7. So let us so just give an use case of it, like for an example, like common example. Let us think there is for example, for a website, let us think of a house as a website, and there is a visitor which is standing outside and outside the house, and we'll have this windows closed and everything is secured. Right now we have a camera set up in the house and everything. So let us say, like, if a window is not closed properly, or if the camera software is not like CCTV, we have set a CCTV and the camera is not set up in the house, is not working properly, or all those details are vulnerabilities which can the user visitor can yeah, make advantage of. If any of that door or like this is compromised, let us consider the door as email security and Windows application security. The rest the camera is network security. So like when these part of are compromised, it is easier for exploitation of the domain and to make an security risk or like make an attack on that particular domain. So these risks will be analyzed using a digital risk analyzer, and it will give a detailed insight on this. So digital risk analyzer actually analyzes the risk assessment is based on four main categories, which is based on domain, a risk assessment, email, a risk assessment, application level risk assessment, and network security. These are the security classifications. So to access the domain risk, digital risk analyzer, so we have a cube icon here where we'll list all the sub products of Site24x7, where we'll have digital risk analyzer. We have to just access this, and here we'll be able to add a domain configuration where we'll provide the display name and domain name. So and if we have a multiple domains, we can add it as a multiple domain, and if we are adding a vendor domain, we can classify it as a vendor domain. Let us say there is an e-commerce application and the payment web pages are handled by a vendor, so that if we want to access our own domains as well as a vendor domain, because the website is included with the vendor domain to complete the order process or web application process. So that comes as a vendor domain as a payment. Let us take an example of payment, and so let us so still just clarify any problem in the audio, any problem which has been faced in the audio, please. Is it okay? Is my audio clear? Can someone give a thumbs up for it if my audio is clear? Thanks. I just got a notification from my co-trainer, so just wanted to make sure like we have covering these details properly. Yeah. Thanks a lot. This vulnerabilities, and so when we add a domain, so when we add this classification as vendor domain, like payments or payment gateways or any other part of that domain, we need to make sure that vendor is also having a strict regulation and has been following the domain risks and email or like application risk assessment properly. So those details can be monitored using the digital risk analyzer. We can configure it as it is. Once we add the domain, so let us take an example of this Site24x7 domain. So the classification, as we said, the domain security, email security, network security, and application security will be categorized. So in this domain security, we can see that performance of industry average. So what is the score of this 90? Then score is 95, and what is the industry average which is going on against the industry average? How well is this website performing? And so category comparison. So based on email security, domain security, where it is lagging. So the security questionnaire. So this is one part where we'll be able to send security questionnaire to users domain users or vendors. So based on this, how is performance? Let us say for domain security assessment. So we have identified this the CA certificate authority authorization DNS record, and so this we have identified this authorization checks to be vulnerable, and how we can resolve this, how we can make sure it is better, all those suggestions and recommendations. Let us say the domain renewal rejection status. So that, like, if there is any absence or like if the renewal status is getting near, so we'll give suggestion like based on this is getting a riskier, so we have to renew it, or like and this wave option is especially to prioritize this like security risk which we capture. Let us say like so we have multiple security risk identified for the domain, and if you want to like waive a few and take care of it later, like we have to prioritize, we can use this waive of option to waive off that particular vulnerability now, and let us set a due date of it, and once the due date crosses, it will again notify us as vulnerable or exploitable, and will give us a status so we can work upon it. We'll be again re-notified. And domain expiry and block list, like if it is uh, uh, like a blocklisted any popular domains or blocklisted IPs, so all those details will cover the domain level security. And email level, we can understand that DMARC policies. So if the email is not having a proper DMARC or DKM verification, we already know that the emails which we send to our end users will not be received in the inbox. It will probably be moved into spam or junk folders, where we will not be able to communicate it to a end user, like, or the organization customers. So for those reasons, we have to maintain proper DMARC or DKM. So if that is at a high risk, like we have seen that DMARC policy for this, it is getting changed, that it is a vulnerability identified, and what is the remediation or recommendation that is given to fix that and improve the security of that email based on email security. So all those details will be like a DMARC percentage aggregation report, everything will be available in this uh, domain level and email level security, which, and network level security is DNS validation and open ports which are vulnerable. Let us say like few ports are exposed, and so unnecessary ports are open, so that will also exploit for an security breach. So what is the vulnerability? Those will be then brand reputation. So it will be like so for the web risk list, like it will check for the whatever the domains present in the web risk list or not. So based on the risk they applied in the global web risk list provided by Google, so it will understand the what is the risk of it is safer to access the website, or based on that it will create a score. So all these details will complete and will give us a score of in the summary, and we'll be able to understand now how the website is based on performing based on the security level, security posture, how good is the application. And security questionnaire, like vulnerabilities will be detected here. And security questionnaire, we can send questionnaires to the vendor as well as the internal domain, instead of you manually triggering and security questionnaire and getting the checkboxes cleared. So when we trigger it from Site 24/7 itself, the vendor has to answer the security questionnaire, and we can have the assessment already added to the score directly without any manual intervention. So those details are available in security. And log reports, so what is the score based on the each pulled data, and how we can plan the score improvement and everything in the score planner. And the risk behavior, like I said, if we have created any behavior for the vulnerabilities or securities issues which we identified, so those will be available in the risk behavior. And so we can have we can like customize the cover page and upload logo and everything here. So those settings will be available in this page. So this is pretty much helps the entire covers the entire security of the website or web application which we monitor, and it will be created based on grades. We have B plus here. So based on grades, it will categorize this website score. Based on score, the grade will be classified, and this can be compared again in the industry index. So that is the main thing which we each industry, comparing to each industry index, how good is the web application performing, so we can keep our security posture up to date again the real market. So that is what this helps. And so that is pretty much covering part of our training. So we'll be able to add sub pages, risk behavior, industry index, security questionnaire, dashboards. Yeah, we have dashboards as well. So this dashboards actually cover all those details which we mentioned in an overall dashboard view, which is like very much useful when we want to get an overall high level view of the performance of the website based on security posture. So those details will be available in the widgets, like risk by severity, risk by classifications, all will be available here. And so the score planner, we have seen about the supported features. And best practices are like, so we can use the domain discovery of subdomains, so that we'll get all subdomains securities cleared as well, and also include vendors third party domains to understand the vendor security posture. So these are like after each security can review provided the review the provided recommendations to remediate the alerts. So these are like few recommendations which we like provide so when we are monitoring the DRA. So there are like security news and incidents and dashboards, which are the new available features in this DRA, where we'll have this digital risk analyzer, visualize security posture, risk exposure, and incident activity from a single pane of glass using this dashboards. These are like supported recently. And so where we can, as we discussed, it is to minimize the risk and potential like malware or outdated software, to understand any outdated software running in the client of your web application to under and take like remediation proactively. This the DRA helps you and benefits the most. And so we have covered this. What all we covered from the session is that we covered internet services monitor and including multiple other internet services and security services. And we covered RUM monitoring, which just gives an entire front-end monitoring perspective view, and digital risk analyzer, and which we last we discussed for the full security posture of a web application, and high-level configurations of the same, and the best practices for setting up the monitors. Like there are like few best practices to use incognito and everything when recording. So those best practices which has been covered. And so the next training will be on July 7th. For the next, we'll be moving into infrastructure monitoring, cloud monitoring. So the CSPs, cloud service providers monitoring, in our next session on July 7th. So pretty much we have covered this internet service session. Going forward, we'll have much more interesting topics to cover. So request everyone to be available for the next session. And thank you so much for giving your valuable time. So, and thanks for keeping this session alive, and look forward to see you in the next session.